Hello, and welcome back to another Big Sunday stream. How's your Sunday going for you today? We so far have Evil, Synapse, Paranormal Fire, Cracked, Machine. I will never understand why Twitch decides to use dark blue on gray on the dark theme. It's impossible to read. As I already said, Synapse. Charm Tigers here, Gaku, Musket, Tedesco. Glad to have all ya and everyone else who's just hanging out too. Hope you all have a fantastic stream today. Hope you all have a fantastic Sunday. I'm looking forward to a few tracks today. Blinded is on my radar. I think we have their full album, or maybe their latest album coming up. I think it is their debut though. I think that's in the album queue. So I've been meaning to get to it, but I haven't, so that we can do the album review for it. The music video for Quentin and his Birdbox Orchestra that's got me intrigued. I saw a couple of snippets of that when I was checking the volume levels earlier. Punch Brothers is here. I'm always down for them. Karmanjakah we've had before. They're really great. The context for Hanali has me very intrigued. And then a couple others that I recognize, like Denkare. We've had them on before. Interested. Oh, I think Moreru. We've had them as well. Interested to see what they're cooking up this time. Has the song list been posted? Everywhere but here. Give me 1 second. All right. There we go. Get that pinned up. All right. Y'all ready to dive into this? Get this going? Man, that takes up so much space. I wonder if there's a way I could clear everything. I don't think I want to do that though. It'll go away as people comment. That's fine. Yeah, let's dive into this. I'm gonna be honest. If I seem a little spacey today, yeah, dude, you ever had those nights where you just don't sleep? Not because you don't want to. I went to bed at a decent hour. I just couldn't sleep. Stared at the ceiling for like 2 hours, went to sleep, and every dream was just anxious. Every dream was me running around places, high tension situations. I don't think I rested well. And then I woke up at like 5:30 and then couldn't go back to sleep. So yeah, if I seem out there today, I didn't get any sleep last night. If I just start staring off into space, I'm like, God, dude, what am I supposed to do next? At least y'all know why now. Also, why is this so dark? What's up with this light? What's up with this light? I don't know. It's a little better, I guess. High on drugs. 3 hours of sleep as well. At least, at least it's 3 hours of solid sleep, I'm hoping. Although, you haven't quite hit REM there either, so the restful period, not quite there. No sleep till Brooklyn? Dude, I'm going to be going a long time without rest then. I have no plans to head up there anytime soon. I think that made it worse. That like heightened the contrast. Yeah, at least that contrast is flatter. I don't know. At least the first track will wake us up. Will it really? All right, let's dive into this. From Skyweb, opening for the second half of the romantic drama anime, Golden Time. Had to work middle of the night? Oof. Graveyard shift. I was going to ask myself, have I ever worked graveyard shift? But yeah. Yeah, I used to do, like, what would you call them? Stuff like Hallow Scream and what is it? What's Universal do? HHN. Something Horror Nights? Hollywood Horror Nights? That doesn't sound right. Halloween Horror Nights? I think that's it right there. But yeah, I used to do the like scare houses. I worked food during one of the events, and we would work until like 4 or 5 in the morning. I think that's the closest I've ever done to Graveyard. Not quite through the entire night. Still kind of got out of work when it was night out, which is nice. But yeah, I tell you though, before we get into this, if you ever get a chance to be a scare actor in a haunted house, do it. It's a blast, 100%. I would always recommend that to people. All right, let's dive into this. See what's going on with Horie Yui. That's probably not how that's pronounced. But we're just going to roll with it. Let's kick it. See what's going on with this track. The World's End. The drum work is really interesting for this. The stereo imaging on the vocals. Jack Nicklaus Golf on PC. Okay. I remember those days when I could just stay up through the whole night. Teenage years though, right with you. Not anymore, that's for sure. The really quick 1-2 count, and that's it. The bass harmony against the vocals was nice. You don't hear that too often. The Rogue acoustic guitar over here underneath the bowed strings. This song's all over the place. Oh man, 64 songs. It's a lot right there. That piano hasn't always been here, right? What is this? I don't know what to make of this. I mean, I get it. It's just so many different. I mean, the drumming right there is metal. It's reduced in intensity. A lot of the high end has been pulled off. It's sort of more of a rumble, but that's metal drumming right there. Completely static, high energy, lots of attacks. But we have that underneath romantic era classical. We dip into some baroque at times. The vocals are very poppy. We have at one point an acoustic guitar just strumming away underneath some strings over here, not adding anything musically, but adding the percussive element of strumming chords on an acoustic guitar. There's a bass in here which jumps between supporting ideas, something that would be more aligned with the classical inspirations here, but other times walking bass lines, more along the lines of the modern J-rock or maybe even a jazz influence. The vocals are consistently split out, giving us the stereo imaging where it's two recordings that are very close but slightly different. We're missing that center vocal sound, which is interesting given that it's the core element in this track, but it's sitting around us. What else did I hear? Oh, there's a piano. Sometimes I hear it randomly. There's this piano slide that we had right up there in like a minute to go in the track. I don't think I had heard too much of the piano previously, but we got it there. Clear as day. What else did I hear in this? Oh, marching snare. The wild thing is that it all feels cohesive. Aside from maybe the metal drum work that we have at the beginning and ending of this track, that certainly feels a bit out of place. But I mean, even the way that they produce it kind of makes it fit. I don't understand how all this comes together. I don't understand how all of this works. And yet it does. It's all here. Pretty fun. The sound's a bit too superficial. I actually thought it was Vocaloid at the start because of the interesting imaging on the vocals. They sounded a bit, well, as you said, superficial. I thought they almost even went a little more artificial. But then I looked at the album cover and the artist name, and I kind of figured it was probably a real vocalist who just happened to have their voice split on these two different takes here. Yeah, I do think there's some artifacting to it as well, but I don't know, it still all comes together. I would love to see this live, if there's a live version of it, and they don't use a backing track, which is a possibility for this, simply because it feels so disparate when I imagine the components to it, but sonically it just works. And maybe having the visuals of the instruments there might add to that and help it coalesce a little better for me. But I think that's my takeaway on this. It consistently keeps a high, happy energy without becoming sappy, which I think is really important. And it does so by kind of reinventing itself every 40 seconds or so and pulling in inspirations from different eras of music while finding a way to interweave it into what it's doing. And for the most part, never really allow those new influences to feel out of place. It's a kind of a masterclass in that regard. Very interesting way to start this day off, though, that's for sure. All right. Next up, we have something fairly interesting. Why do I feel like I'm missing it? I am missing something. Where's There we go. That's what I was missing. All right. You may have noticed up there, we don't have an artist area. We have a Buddhist area. Because there is no artist for what we're about to listen to. Because, in fact, it doesn't appear to be art. Now, I'm already intrigued by this in and of itself. This one comes at us from Taranekla. Hanali is a Buddhist doing gorge. DJ Nanga, who is an unidentified prominent climber and said to be one of the Himalayan giants, the originators of gorge, formulated Gorge Public License, or GPL, it's short. Part 1, you must have toms. Part 2, you must call it gorge. And Part 3, it is not art. And thus, we don't have an artist. We have a Buddhist who has created the track BUPTE. Finally, let's dive into this. I have no context for this other than that, which doesn't tell me much about the music. Right? Question mark. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Like, what is going on here? Yeah, let's just dive in. I'll give some thoughts afterwards, of course. See what's going on. Yeah, like conceptually.
Talking to you like I'm ready to be through, but every time I do you,
conceptually, it's pretty neat. But I gotta hear this. There's the toms. Yeah, musically it's not very defined. It's contextually defined though. Also, I like how the album is called Black Uppointing Triangle Exception. Groovy Buddhism. Why are the vocals reminding me of like late 90s, turn of the century Western pop music? It's got like that Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera inflection to it. Wait a second. That was baseline to My Sharona? And then it just stops with 20 seconds of silence. Oh man. Uh Musically, it's collage to me. There's a bunch of things overlaid on top of each other that don't necessarily thematically or even stylistically fit, but certainly come together to create something new. In a lot of ways, I kind of relate this to a mood board of sorts. It definitely feels moody without much traditional musical concept to it. There is rhythm and a groove, but that seems to be consistent only to one of the samples. I don't even know if they are samples, but like if we take the tom run and we pair that rhythm and tempo with the vocals, they're different. It's really difficult to write music where there's multiple tempos that don't line up on some sort of multiple. And I think that this chaotic feeling is due to that. So we have odd rhythmic devices. The melodic devices are interesting too, because what starts out fairly, again, to me, very late 90s pop vocals, we eventually have formant shifting on them, and then I believe a layering of the formant shifting underneath a formant shifted version, creating harmonies of dual formant shifting. It gets weird at the end with the vocals. It sounds like the tape is decaying. All of this against these chaotic drums and noises, and none of it really fitting together. It is expressionistic, which I agree with Mark here for looking at the language to discuss this. I would call this art. Is it difficult or does it just sound difficult? From like a performance perspective, I'd say yes, difficult. From a sonic perspective, I don't think so. It's really like three ideas overlaid on each other, three or four ideas that are all not designed to fit together. Like taking four puzzle pieces, and then just smashing them together. Who cares if the edges line up well, and then calling that the finished result. It works. There's expression to it. It's just not what most people would traditionally look for in building a puzzle. It doesn't have to be good to be art. Exactly. And I think that's going to wrap up my thoughts on this one. Like, I could probably go more into the nomenclature of the terminology that they're using. I don't really think it's worth diving into, though. I've already kind of given my piece that I see this as music, and thus I see it as art. But, they want to call it what they want. That's perfectly fine, too. I'd like to hear more, though. Maybe not necessarily more like this, but I'm kind of curious what other people are doing within this realm. As Taranekla mentioned, it's a very open genre. Really, from the musical side of things, the only thing you have to do is include toms, which I suppose doesn't really make for something that can really have much of a cohesive dive in, or like a cohesive wrap up of ideas. Like when I tell you you're going to listen to black metal, if you've heard some black metal before, you can know exactly what you're getting in store for. There are sonic and compositional choices that go into making that sound. But for this, it's more of a description of a movement than the genre. That Bandcamp is basically the whole collection? Okay. I didn't know if gorge.in was, maybe it's just gorge in? No, gorge.in. I didn't know if that was like an artist, but it seems to, yeah, like you said, it's a place just kind of houses a lot of gorge music. But again, it's more of a movement than a genre. So it can really go in a lot of different directions. I'd like to see what other people are making within it. And honestly, I think I'd like to hear more like this. That's kind of breaking definition a little. It's not often, as I mentioned earlier, you hear music with multiple tempos. It kind of just turns out to sound very noise-like. I think if it were more traditional music that just happened to have toms in it, and then the people who created it referred to themselves as Buddhists, it would be a little less interesting to me because musically it follows other conventions and I could socket it into a genre, whereas this is just more of sonic collage. At best, I could throw it in an experimental or avant-garde umbrella, but that's just usually where I place things that I can't define, which is where I would want Gorge to be. Yeah, interested to hear more, exactly. See what else other people are doing within this concept. All right, next up we have some Karmanjakah. We've had them on the channel a few times. This one comes at us from Pear. Let's call them Bright Thal or Thal Light overall, including lots of different genre inspirations though, this track not least, even black metal elements technically speaking. You've reacted positively to them. This one's from their second full-length, Diamond Mornings, and all the songs flow into each other, so don't mind the opening and closing too much, but regard this as a teaser for the full album. All right, 1,000 Horns. Let's dive into this, see what they're bringing to the table this time. There's the black metal adjacent ideas. Subtle bend on the pitch. Very interesting, pushing into microtonal concepts. Totally agree. I like heavier music. I like clean vocal melodies. I think it's a shame that metal kind of became the place for harsh vocals, more so than being more evenly divided. No, I agree with that. I'm not upset that metal became the home of harshes. I'm kind of upset that metal became a place that many people view it as harshes only please. So much so that there's channels out there called, what's that one YouTube channel for metal? I think it's called No Clean Singing or something like that. I just wish that metal had developed in more of a split pattern instead of such a heavy reliance on harsh vocals. No cleans do review cleans. What's the point of the name? That'd be like if I started being cynical. Great vocal work here though. That's the control. That's fair. Might be time for a rebrand though. They've got jazz in here too. I'm down for that. Ooh, this is very Tesseract. Got the polyrhythm on the cymbal. Wait. Okay, they're playing around with it. Find its vocals grating? Dang, I find it gorgeous. I totally agree with that spiral out. I think that's been my biggest complaint levied at metal over my course of being a metal critic is just a lack of dynamic writing. Yeah, solid track right there. I pulled them down. I'm pretty sure I've pulled them down in the past too, but just in case, wanted to make sure. This just came out, you said, right? I'm gonna have to check this out before the year's over because I really like what they're doing here. Yep, came out in May last month. Actually, I guess it is tomorrow. It'll be a month old. I like what they're doing. They've got the metal thing down. It's definitely very djenty. They've got the low end pull. I think having the thal kind of tag on it works well as far as describing their music. It is primarily, to me, focused on texture over anything else, but the guitars still have melodic passages in them. So I'm a big fan of that. Throwing in some blast beats for contrast. Very cool. I also like the production on the drums. There's no high-end annoying frequencies in there that black metal likes to keep around when they do their blast beats. It kind of introduces the ear fatigue. So yeah, that all works really well as far as the metal side goes. And I do like how they even take the moment to dip away from that and explore more melodically focused atmospheres rather than just heavy low-end guitars that contrast with higher notes. Kind of focus on minimal riffage there and kind of push away to something more atmospheric of just notes, just hearing these note intervals like we heard towards the end of that track. The vocals, though, they're the star of the show for me. Love the way they sound. I love the melody writing there. The harmonies sound great. And there's just enough dynamic writing here to keep me interested throughout. I'm really interested to see what else they do on the album. You said that there's some jazz in there too, so I'm always down for that. They're somewhat like a Thalia Tesseract. All right. Yeah, this one actually felt very Tesseract to me around the 4-minute mark. So yeah, I quite enjoyed that. Looking forward to diving into. I don't think I've listened to much metal this year at all. So this might inject some of that into my daily listening. To go in a very different direction here, we're going to dive into some Punch Brothers, which I am always a fan of. Pretty confident that I'll enjoy the full album. If that track is anywhere near indicative of what the rest is doing, I probably will. I don't know if it'll make album of the year, but I think I'm going to enjoy it enough to give it a few listens. All right, Punch Brothers here comes from What Makes Me Me. This is the latest from them. I didn't know they were still together to make music, so that's pretty cool. Called Song of the Water. Sorry, Song of the Water Kelpie. Unsung. Also, apparently, maybe Kelpie song? Not sure. Let's dive into this though. The atmospheres are often Tesseract sounding, and I think that's what really felt Tesseract to me. Was having the soaring melody, or sorry, not even melody, just soaring textures. The atmospheres above the gentler stuff. New album drops in July. Gotta write that down. Punch Bros. Super Punch Bros. July album. Figure out what date that is and throw it in my calendar because I don't want to miss that. Album reaction on the day of release for Punch Brothers? I think that'd be pretty fun. I still got to find a way to do relevant album videos. Doubtful they would be full reactions, but I would like to at least discuss relevant albums. Even if it's just something closer to like the Needle Drop. Maybe less review, more analysis in there, but something closer to like a 20 or 30-minute video per album. I think that'd be pretty cool. It would get me some views. That's something that I have noticed when we've checked out things that are popular today, where today is just, whatever day it is. Those videos tend to do better viewer-wise, but not comment-wise. And the people who comment tend to be first-time commenters who don't stick around for other videos. So it's more of like a microcosm of algorithm stuff, and it doesn't really bleed out into general channel growth. Good luck maintaining discipline to keep it short. You know what, though? That's a fair call out. It's a pity you never did relevant album reviews. I think it's a blessing and a curse. I do enjoy just being open to everything. I know how easy it is, whether you are a film reviewer or you talk about shows or you're a music critic or whatever, and only doing what's recent, because keeping up with recent things is 2 full-time jobs within itself. It's impossible to keep up with every recent release in any medium right now. So I do enjoy the ability to just look at anything. But as far as analytics go, it's impossible to deny how important it is to talk about stuff that people are actively watching, reading, or listening to right now, like capturing that zeitgeist. That's a key thing for doing the algorithm thing. getting the views and stuff like that. You're always relevant. Thanks, man. Fantano does a great albums. Oh, does a great albums video for each month at the end of each month, so spending 2 to 3 minutes talking about the albums. I've thought about that too. In fact, I wanted to do that this year, not necessarily for a month, but for a quarter. Late March, early April, I was wanting to get out a video called In Case You Missed It and talk about albums that came out from January to March, both a collection of things I enjoyed and stuff that I heard that might have bounced off of me, but would probably resonate really well with the community. And yeah, had other plans for April, I suppose, and that never happened. But it is something that's kind of on the back burner, I suppose. Yeah, seasonal release conversations. I still want to do it, but it's on the back burner for now. I didn't know Fantano did that though. That's pretty cool, especially for each month. Sometimes I look at what he releases and I can't imagine putting out that much video, that much discussion about music as often as he does across all the channels that he does. This kind of blows my mind at times. What do we got here? Follower goal met. 260 out of 260. That's pretty big. I don't know who that was, but thank you so much for that follow. Boards of Canada dropped a new album for the first time in 13 years. I think I saw that recently in a comment, probably on the Boards of Canada track I checked out. I don't remember if I enjoyed them though. The name doesn't stick with me like other stuff that where the music really resonates with me, but it's not a band I've forgotten either. Maybe I'll have to check out a couple tracks from it. Did someone put it into the new music channel in Discord? I'm about 3 weeks behind on that now, so if it's in there, I'll definitely get around to checking it out. Experimental electronica, but good vibes. Doesn't stop you with black metal. Should be there? Okay. I don't have to make a note of it. I'll get around to it sometime this month, I hope. Could do more themes with only songs from this year to get more current picks. Okay. I don't know why that slips my mind. I always remember it in January. Well, even that's like stuff from last year, so that's kind of recent, but also kind of not. But actually, that would be pretty cool too, because I know last year I think we did something along the lines of like your favorite things that have released this year thus far, and I think I did that around this time actually, halfway through the year. Actually, that's probably something we should do this month now that I'm thinking about it. But yeah, doing that every season would be pretty cool as long as patrons are cool with it. I don't know how many people actually keep up with recent releases. It seems like most people within the community, but not everyone. Never 100% of anything. 1 week a month, that's tracks for the month. See, I think that would be cool, but it's also, it takes away from like choice, from variance, to dedicate the first week or the last week of a month. But I think once every 3 months would be fair. I don't know. I'll make a post about it on Patreon. Get some. Oh, I'll make a poll about it. There we go. Get some hard stats. Let's see. Per season favorite songs theme. All right. Slacked on recent releases this year, but honestly, it might get me back on the new music grind. I mean, like I said, I'm a few weeks behind too. I have really enjoyed digging back into some of my old favorite albums and listening to them on modern hardware, because for a lot of the stuff that I've been checking out, the last time I heard them was on some blown out speakers in a car back in the 2000s. So it's been nice to revisit them and hear things. The same thing like when we check out, like System of a Down or Tool, or have we checked out? I don't remember. We've checked out some stuff from like my teenage years. And it's really cool to hear them on like decent hardware. And with fresh ears, you know, having so many years spent towards music education and understanding. So I've really been enjoying that. I don't really have much of a drive right now to dive into recent releases. New Kurt Vile. I don't think I know who that is. AOTS album of the season. I like it. I like it. Gotta write that down. That's a good one. Y'all got so many good ideas today. I don't usually write this much stuff down. It's a shame that I don't know who Kurt Vile is. So I guess he's not part of any other bands. Can't say, you know, like he's the guitarist for this band. Now it's his solo work. He's just like, this is just him. He's a solo artist all the way through. All right, did we get context on this? Oh yeah, latest from the Punch Brothers. Let's get this train rolling again. Used to be War on Drugs. I don't recognize that either. I might have to check them out, see what's going on there. All right, Punch Brothers. This track is highly dynamic, so I'm going to be quiet here. It does get louder towards the end, but it starts off fairly silent. Let's dive in, see what's going on. interesting being a 12 beat phrase. So this guitar over here is certainly working within groups of 4. All right. I wonder if this works very well within the context of the album. I found it to just be a little lacking on its own. The musicianship is all there, the emotional quality is there, but it never really became, I guess, what I wanted it to be. Yeah, I enjoyed it, but it really wasn't a strong track on its own. I enjoy the intimateness, as Spiral Out mentioned. It certainly feels small. Even when we have the largest part of this track, the loudest part of it, it's still not epic or grand or over the top. It's still a relatively small idea. And I think that works well. But I just wanted more out of it, I suppose. I wish I could explain that better. I think it was more so that I've enjoyed Punch Brothers' larger tracks in the past, but I also enjoy their vocal harmonies, and this one not having those leads it to feel like it's just an instrumental, and it does a good job of building atmosphere, but not really of pulling the song through. I feel like it's a bit too repetitive for that, and it becomes a very atmospheric track, missing a lead component to it. Even though we have a lead melody in here, it's just a bit too, not very punchy. It's just a little too minimal, I suppose. I think that's really it at the end of the day. This is a minimal atmospheric track built around melodic movements. And I think now that I know what it is, I probably enjoy it more on a subsequent listen, but I was expecting more of what I've heard in the past from the Punch Brothers, which has it's been a bit more dynamic and melodically exploratory. Punch Drunk, perhaps. It's number 7 on the album out of 11. Okay, so this would be a really good, I don't know what the other tracks before it are, but this is a really good way to bring down some energy before heading into the final third. I could see that. Yeah, I'm going to pull this down though. Is this from their new album? July 24th. All right. That's what I needed. But yeah, it does look like it's from their new one. So I guess I'll just have to wait till next month and see where this works within the album context. Like I said, it's a good song. It's well written, beautifully performed here. It just doesn't feel like it has the energy to stand out on its own. Came off as really dynamic. Interesting. Because the way I view it is that we have a quieter intro, a more dynamic middle point, and then we replay the intro, bringing the energy back down with very minor alteration to it. But it is, I don't know what a water kelpie is. I kind of assume it's a small organism of sorts. I see the word kelp in there. Maybe the song's supposed to feel small within a vast world, which I think it does an okay job at. What I did enjoy, though, was a bit of the... It's an evil creature? I would never have picked that up from the musical context clues in there. Mythical shape-shifting spirit inhabiting locks in Scotland. Yeah, I did not get any of that from the music. My mind would never have gone in that direction. That's absolutely wild. I kind of want to hear it again. I'm going to pull it down. I'm going to listen to it again later with that in mind and see if that gives me any new context to it. The Australian Kelpie, which is a dog breed, but typically referred to as a creature from Celtic mythology. All right, evil shape-shifting water beast. All right. All right. I don't know how to segue from that, so we're just going to dive straight into this next one. This one is from the artist Moreru. We're looking at, I actually don't know if that's how you pronounce it. Now that I realize that. It's definitely not moreru, though. That is way too Western for that. The title, I believe, is in the comment from Gaku. Japanese in title means to God, no. We also have true end at the beginning of this. I have no idea what any of this means. I will tell you, though, this is visually noisy, and I'm a little worried that we're going to be listening to something sonically noisy as well. You smell schizo? Let's dive in, see what's going on here. I'm enduring. I will continue to attempt. Switching to the Denkare tabs. Wow, Mark. That's a bold statement. Interesting context for that. Northern Frontier. I'm on that boat with you right there. Also the recorder. The ear unflogger. Y'all got jokes today. And then the abrupt ending. I'm kind of glad we got this for live stream because I don't know that I would have a lot for the analytical side of this. But I will say that I think there's something really solid underneath the layer of compression on this. It is certainly the aspect of it that I personally find makes it the least enjoyable to listen to. Because underneath the white noise, the compression, the static that accompanies every single instrument, there's cool music here. There's solid melody throughout. It's usually hidden, but it's usually there. We have dual vocals that do spoken word. They do harmonized harshes. They do harshes against spoken word. I don't think we had any clean singing in here. But we have two vocalists who are doing counterpoint, not just harmonizing with each other, but singing in between each other's spaces. It's cool. I hear the drum parts and they're very punky. There's lots of syncopation to what the drums are doing. Well, sometimes. Other times it's just mash as many 16th notes on everything that you can. Clean singing, would it have helped? I think it would have. But I also hear the music beneath the distortion too. So I like what's going on here. I just wish it was presented in a different package. Maybe the noise, the compression, the static is part of their message. There's always that artistic value that could be a possibility here. I'm not the audience for it, that's for sure. But there is certainly a core adjacent influence here at the heart, at the core of this track that I do find appealing. I'm just a little underwhelmed by the blown out speaker production that they went with. I think that subjectively, that's just not my cup of tea there. But even the higher pitched screams, I'm on board with that, dude. I come from emo. I come from screamo. I mean, some of them are a bit shrill. I wonder if they were manipulated or if they just have a ridiculous fry scream. I could probably do without those, but they were peppered in, not exclusively used. So I could probably even deal with that. This is the package you get. Want a refund? Gaku, I think as far as your selections, this is one that I've enjoyed more. Not to really put you on the spot or call you out or anything. You're definitely a fan of noise, I have found, with your selections, and I'm not. So we're just kind of on opposite spectrums here. But I do find that at the heart, we both enjoy what's there musically. We just enjoy different packages. But I do find this to be one of the more interesting ones that you've shown me here. So I appreciate that. A sealed silence chamber with the mute button on. Wow, with an angry... Y'all were harsh on this one. Well, let's see what you think of the next one here. This is going to be a fun one too, I believe. This one comes at us from Bartolomej, dissonant bass-led math rock made by the bassist from Pretend. Got both of these. I'm going to assume this is noisier. Songs back to back here. Let's dive in. See what's going on with the artist 2D. Whoops, that's the wrong way. There we go. All right. You prefer this over most mainstream music? It is interesting. Absolutely. Okay, not what I expected with the descriptor of dissonance. It is an accurate description. Just not where my mind went. There's an interesting effect to the way that those chords come in. It's like both pitch and volume bending simultaneously. But there's also a movement too. Yeah, the initial attack is over here. I can kind of see the accordion thing. You know what's interesting though is that I'm kind of adapting to it. Actually, no, I think this part's just more consonant. Lots of string sliding sounds on this too. Is that 15, 16? Or maybe alternating 4, 4, and 7, 8. Yes, that'd be 15, 8. It really feels like it's trying to fall apart here. Sleepy feel, yeah. Heavy eyelids. Yeah, that's quite unique. And I will say, I think I did adapt to the harmony of it. It's certainly unusual. And, well, we can call it dissonant. We can also use the word microtonal if we want. But it is odd. But as the song progressed on, I think I got more used to the specific harmonies they were using. I don't think dissonance is the right word. Or maybe it's just not as dissonant as, say, dissonant black metal or panic chords would be. There is a balance to the lack of harmony. Very interesting, and that's a positive word. I don't know why y'all keep this joke around that when I say interesting, I don't mean it positively. I enjoy it. It's funny. It cracks me up. Sounds like the guitarist is a heroin junkie. Oh, you know what? I don't know why bringing up drugs made this click. Y'all ever listen to the soundtrack for the first Hotline Miami? That's what this reminds me of. And I think a lot of it is the lack of strong consonant harmony, but also all of the tonal bending to it. Yeah. Has the math rock feel from Midwest emo, just from the guitar tones mostly. Yeah, math rock does sit well for me in this, simply because once we hit the end of the track, the time signatures are all over the place. But the song also feels like it wants to fall apart. The beginning makes sense. The lack of solid form fits well with the breathing airiness of the chords. But when we bring in the drums at the end and we get a solid rhythmic idea, this is where things start to feel more defined, and the lack of definition from so much of the track rhythmically and harmonically make the song feel like it's at odds with itself. And at a certain part, it really does feel like the track just wants to crumble, to fall apart completely, gears shooting out, wow, as this machine breaks down. I find that to be really interesting. It adds to this feeling of falling apart, of reducing oneself to something, going into a sunken place, or feeling sleepy, not feeling in tip-top shape. Incredibly well done track that I would need a couple more listens, I think, to really grasp what it's doing, just because it's a bit unique in its approach to harmony and rhythm, but absolutely sells an atmosphere in a way that very little music I've heard does. I didn't think I was going to enjoy that one, but I'm going to end up pulling that one down and seeing where it takes me. All right, y'all, I'm ready for this. I don't know if y'all check out stuff from the live stream schedule ahead of time or not. This one's wild, though. We have Quentin Smirhes. I don't know how to pronounce that. Let's see if we can get... Wait, why didn't that mess things up? That'll mess things up. Yeah, cool. Okay, that's what I wanted. If I head down here and search for title... Yes, and then change that to 3 lines. Okay, we got it all. Glad to see this. You checked it out in advance? No. I did check out some of the music video in advance, though. I have to. Otherwise, I'd be... we never know what volume any of these were at, and some of y'all would lose your hearing by now, myself included, as songs might be louder than expected. So, I saw the music video for this. It's short. It's 2 minutes, 43 seconds. But even just from the thumbnail, this creates intrigue. From the title, this creates intrigue. I don't see how anyone can look at these things and think, yeah, I'm not interested. I don't care what this dude's doing. Drowsy pop, I like that. Bedtime music to induce surreal dreams. Yeah, that's not inaccurate either. All right, context for this. From Elbow Juice. Why did that not get updated properly? Seen it before, it's interesting. Just has the artist and title of the song here. So, dude, I'm kind of scared to hit play, honestly. I don't know what a hand teacher is, an 18th century hand teacher, and I don't know what's going on with this instrument. I don't know why there's eyes on these. Let's hit play. See what's going on here. You'll manage. Musically speaking, this is interesting. I was trying to think of a different word. Um, the thing is, it has a solid rhythm to it. I like the toy piano box melody thing. That's nice. I'm not a big fan of the woodwind, the recorder. I don't think it adds much. It's harmonically loose in a way that we don't see on the music box portion of it. It's sort of just this airy sound in the mix that I guess provides atmosphere, but makes it sound more haunted than just the melody itself. The second melody coming in provides good counterpoint and a strong bit of harmonic expansion. And the clacking was kind of cool from both perspectives. As a sound, I think it's a cool percussive sound, a bit higher end as far as pitch goes, but not like a traditional. I can't think of any like strong analogy into traditional instruments that it would fit in. But it also works with the visual side to it being these eyes. Um, they see there are more. I saw that too. I'm kind of intrigued about the magic slippers. If it had toms, could we say that it isn't art? Oh man. But there's the other side of this too, which is the performance side. And I don't know, dude. I think it's actually the performative side of this that is trying to be, I don't want to use the word weird, but possibly eccentric as a way to stand out. Musically, as I mentioned, it's fairly straightforward. I don't think there's anything in here that's too odd, but it is the way it's presented to us that's a bit unusual. But I think this is also what drove the reason to put so much of the lip and spit sounds into the mix as well. And that certainly adds a bit of an unsettling element to this. If they were lower in the mix, it could feel more natural, but they're just way too loud. And of course, I have headphones on, which isn't helping either. If I hadn't had the video with this and it was purely audio, I think I would be fairly underwhelmed. So I want to put this into multimedia art as I think that the visual and the visual presentation and performance of it is a key element of the art itself. Oh, geez. And I think from the perspective of art, it's at least it's grabbed my attention. It made me slightly uncomfortable at times, but I enjoyed the music and I'm kind of tempted to check out more. So, like I said, in that regard, I think it works well. Nobody would have a haircut that bad without trying to troll. I wasn't going to bring up the haircut because that's not my forte. But yeah, I certainly noticed the high cut fringe. Everything else is nice though. The hair, I mean, it's well kept. The beard looks well kept. It's all very well. It's really the fringe, I think, that is the strangest part to it. Tempted to check out more. Yeah, I think there's something alluring here. There's a strange gravitas to this. I'm gonna pull it down. I gotta check out more. Who shared this? Elbow Juice. Thank you for this. You might be sending me down a rabbit hole. Folk collage? Not sonic collage, but maybe visual collage. There's definitely some interesting things going on visually there. An interesting twist on Eric Sadie's music, Nosian number 1 specifically. Huh. All right. Next up, we have some Marmozets, which I think we've had on the channel before. The name sounds familiar to me anyways. Some actual context for this one. Marmozets were on a tear when the debut came out in 2014, touring with some huge names, but after their second album in 2018, they were sidelined by health and then a baby, so now they're back and hopefully here to stay again. The band was started in 2008 or so by 2 sets of siblings, and then the vocalist married the guitarist and they had said baby, so it's actually a family band. That's pretty cool. The original context was, do you feel it? I'm interested to see where that fits into this whole song. Kiss from a Mother. Let's dive in and see what's going on here. Very brisk for him. Taking the guitar lick. Tarantino music. Okay. Very punky vocals. The electronic aspects are a nice touch. Dude, that vibrato is wild. Yeah, I think I'm on board, Azzy. This is, it's got the right energy. That's it. Yep, it's the energy. I was on board from the start, but then it just get more and more intense. I do wish the not the vocals, the guitar and bass were a little more interesting. There was two guitar riffs the whole time, and the bass was pedal tone the whole time. It could just be this track, but I did want more from them. They did provide the energy though, sort of on the outskirts. The drums just full force forward, and the vocals, they captured the entire show. Lots of unique inflections and delivery. Coming into the chorus with the tongue roll, I mean, you can't get more high energy than that. That was just phenomenal. So, yeah, I'm on board with this. I think with a different vocalist, it would be a little more underwhelming, but this vocalist knows how to keep the energy high and to run with what the instruments are doing, allowing them to be the foundation for that lead melody. It's a lead single, but they have more technical stuff. That's really great to hear. I would love for the rest of the band to kind of come up to the vocalist level as far as diversity of sounds and ideas. Because, like I said, the vocalist is just all over the place. They got different inflections, different placements to change the coloring of their vocals, different ranges. There's those quasi-fry screams in there too. It's incredibly dynamic, and it feels, I think it makes the rest of the band feel a little flat, but if they're going to have more technical stuff in other tracks, I'm on board. But yeah, I'm sold. This was phenomenal, and you called it. You said that you thought this band was up my alley. 100%. Even if this is their most commercial, less technical track, it still worked 100% for me. So fantastic call there. Not a lot of comments from y'all on that one, though. Maybe it didn't catch y'all the same way it caught me, which is kind of par for the course. So I don't know why I'm surprised by that. We got KADINJA up next. I love that band name. I don't know why, but something about it just like rolls off the tongue. It's phonetically satisfying. Till the Ground Disappears. This one comes at us from Childra with no context. All right, we're just going to dive straight into it then. Let's kick it. You could feel it? Dude, oh, I didn't even think about live. Yeah, they'd be killer live. Oh. Yeah. Is that an inhale scream? It sounds thinner than I would expect for its resonance. I think this song caught me on the right day. I don't think I'd always be down for this, but it is scratching an itch right now. Gentle. I like it. Yeah, Tesseract, also another band from that time, Periphery. The clean vocals, that are driven rather than the more atmospheric vocals that Tesseract usually does, with the melodic emphasis against the djenty guitar work. That's classic Periphery right there. That's a great observation. It really was. Although this 2017 feels a bit late for me. Definitely towards the tail end of this. Yeah, that was a very fun listen. That big throwback to me. I mean, I name drop Periphery in there. I do think it feels like their second album. Their first was, the first album did not age well for me at least. But the second one introduced more melodic devices within it, and it does remind me a lot of this. Some lower end fries, some higher end fries, lots of clean hooks, and the guitar is bouncing around between very textured and rhythmic ideas and melodic ideas, sometimes in rapid fire, as we saw that don 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 don, but also other times where we just kind of neglect the melodic side entirely and have entire sections based around rhythm and texture to contrast the chorus. I'm going to assume the big vocal hook. And it's just like, this reminds me of early 2010s Periphery, which I spent a lot of time listening to. And it's not a sound that they really make anymore. They've gone in their own progressive metal direction, a bit further away from this old school djent sound. So it's kind of nice to hear another band picking that up. Maybe it's just because I don't listen to a lot of djent. Maybe there were actually a lot of bands making this sound, but I can't really say I've heard too many. And this is almost note for note what I remember from this era. I love the vocals though. I wish we had more of the higher fry screams. That lower one just, I don't know, it feels hollow to me, which is a really weird term for a growl. I mean, for a harsh vocal, but it does. It feels like the sound starts in the center but is empty, and it's really, you get the body of it on the outsides of the song. Never quite worked with me. The higher fries were a bit too thin. I can understand why the vocalist didn't lean into them, but I think they sounded better to me. The cleans though are where it's at, man. Absolutely love the clean vocals on this. Love the guitar runs. Yeah, as we got further into the track, we focused more on breakdowns and texture, and I found that they were very chunky. They sounded good production-wise, but I don't know that there'd be a lot for me to come back to compositionally. But I enjoyed my time with it. It was a very solid track. And while I'm not pulling it down, I still really enjoyed my time with it. I'll have to keep them in the back of my mind, though. I've seen the name a few times, but I did not have this sound tied to it. Djent isn't a genre. Djent is not a genre. I will stand by that 100%. But much like Thal, Well, I was going to say much like Thal, people know exactly what it is when you talk about it. But if you are in the know, if you know what Thal is, then you know what I'm talking about, which is just how words work, I suppose. But I don't consider Thal a genre either. It's progressive metal, just like Gent is, with a focus on rhythm and texture. But it is a good shorthand, at least within this community, to talk about specific ideas. It's a genre. Oh, gee. All right. Not pulling that down is wild compared to some that I do. What if you miss something? It's possible, dude. I miss a lot of things. I've just got so much to listen to already that that did not get to the top of my must check out list. So people who play it are gentle people. Oh man. All right. I'm gonna dive into some Blindead here. We had them last month, I believe, and I really enjoyed them. Like I mentioned earlier, I want to dive into their album, but can't. I'm being held hostage here. Is there such a thing like music FOMO? Absolutely. I mean, that's part of the reason why I have a 1,300 song live stream list of things that caught my attention that I pulled down because someday I might find something in there that I might have missed out on. It's just going to continue to build. I'll never get to it, but it's better than completely forgetting about it. Oh, I know you're just messing around, Mark, but I mean, that, I don't, you got me second guessing it because I did enjoy that track. The fear is constant. Yeah, Thousand Horns was quite a bit earlier, so you'll have to wait for the VOD on that. But if I remember right, that was a pretty good track. Oh yeah, that was Karmanjakah. Yeah, definitely a good track. I'm trying to figure out what band that was. It's pretty bad. 2 hours ago, and I've already forgotten stuff. Almost 2 hours. No use fighting the fear because the fear is constant. It just becomes background noise like drone. The new album is really good. I know, dude. I want to listen to it. Someone requested it for album review, and now I have to wait for it to get rolled before I can check it out. It is. I was going to say agony. I don't think it's quite at that level, but it is. It's still a little frustrating. Let's see. Do we have. Wait, is this Blinded 23? Or is this. Are there two Blindeads? I don't know anymore. This came out in 2011, so I don't know if this is the same band as Blinded 23. Now I'm really confused. Let's see. Do we have context on this? Suffering from success from Chemiswa. Something from the old Blinded that I sent last month. Okay, so they are connected. Probably my favorite song of theirs. Cut the song after 648. There's only drone after that. Previous iteration of the band. Okay, that's interesting. So they rebooted the band, presumably after a time away, or maybe a band personnel shift, and they renamed themselves. That's the more interesting part, I think. Periphery's newest album, A Pale White Dot, might be fully up your album, has shorter songs and is more reminiscent of their older stuff. Yeah, I think I gave this a 3-star, a good rating, whereas their previous two I gave a 2-star. So I have enjoyed this more than their other albums. They were doing just fine for a while, and this is definitely a step up. Up your album. Out of 3. I only rate out of 3. It's either bad, in which case I couldn't watch it, maybe or listen to it or whatever, just poorly created, or maybe bad production value. I just couldn't get past that. Just something about it that was terrible. Then there's mid, which is like 90% of what I listen to. adequately made, well done, not stand out, but competently created. Then there's good, which is 3 stars, and that is my favorite stuff. That's it. I don't need anything else. I don't need decimal systems or in between bad and good. Then you could half your list easily and enjoyably, right? Yeah. We're on the same page here. I do have a special 3 stars, but the stars are sparkly. And that is for cream of the crop, Hall of Fame kind of stuff. And there's only 27 albums out of the 700 albums that I've listened to in my database that have the 3 sparkly stars. So it is definitely a prestigious thing. But it's not really a better rating than good. It's just more like highlight kind of idea. But yeah, I tried 4 stars. I tried a heart system, but none of them really worked. So I just went for the sparkle, and that just seems to convey the idea really well. How about a week where you do 10 songs from bands on your list, no reaction chat, you only pick 3/4 to stay on the list for the future? That would be interesting. Monetize my backlog. Find a way to make money by making videos off my backlog. 10 a day. Stars with the metal umlaut. Yeah, I might have to incorporate something like that. Not necessarily like low quality, but definitely less time spent. Just quickly going through a few tracks. Yeah, I could probably do something like that, like in an elimination game. Yeah, no chat, just okay, just doing it. Let me write that down. Like I said, y'all got the ideas today. The music filter. Slowly filter out stuff. All right, we got some Blindead here. Affliction 27 to... Why am I blanking out on M? Is that 100? That 2009? 27 to 2009? That's a date. That's not when this came out though, I don't think. I think I said 100, but then I said 2000. I knew what I meant in my mind. It just didn't, my tongue didn't cooperate there. So I wonder what that's about then. A specific date after Affliction. Let's dive into this. See what's going on here. Yeah, no worries, man. closing track on a concept album. I'm enjoying the placement of the bass and it kind of bouncing off of the vocals, kind of like trading off. It's taking its time, it's patient, but I feel this buildup. This is going to be a big ending, I think. I haven't been paying a lot of attention to the video, but I will say it's nostalgic in the production side of things. It's definitely indicative of a time. And I think that's it. That is heavy panned. All right. Yeah, I enjoyed that. Not quite as much as I liked the other track I heard from them. And it wasn't quite as large as I thought it was going to end up being. But an incredibly solid track as far as atmosphere and emotion. I love the extended use of the acoustic guitar alongside the electric in there, both for just the general percussiveness of it, but also I really enjoyed the note bends in there, kind of giving it a bluesy feel, influencing the emotional value of it. The drum pattern, consistent throughout, but I found always expanded on the ideas that the bass and guitar were presenting, and the vocalist just grew in intensity throughout the track. It's a slow burn, but one that I think works really well. And as separated as the first third of the track is from the other two thirds, I think it does a great job of setting up atmosphere and emotion to be further explored later. But I do think it is the high repetition and the general slow burn growth to it that I find to be something that kind of left me behind a little bit. But I would wager it works better within the context of the album, where there's more time to build on ideas, where this ending would feel more of a payoff for that. Preferred this to the stuff on the new album. Interesting. The album theme is about the miserable life of an autistic girl. Very interesting story to tell musically. It probably comes off a bit better than the description there, but yeah, an interesting idea, I think, to present in music. A Rate Your Music User, one of the saddest albums I ever heard in my life. Wow. One, kind of makes me not want to listen to it. But on the other hand, I'm like, really? The saddest? Like, that song right there didn't feel too sad. Now, I'm devoid of the lyrical themes too, but now I'm kind of intrigued by it. Is the rest of the album heavy and weighty? I don't know yet. They didn't leave room for the peak due to the crescendo. Increased intensity without increased volume may have given a bigger impact peak, but I liked it lots. Yeah, and maybe see, that's also what I found a little underwhelming about it. It wasn't quite as large of a sweep as I wanted, but I was also comparing it to the intro of this track to the outro. It's quite possible on the album it's a larger contrast, emotionally complex and dynamic. Yeah. A solid track though. Quite enjoyed that one. We have 3 more ahead of us here. Do we have 3 more? Yeah, I guess we do. Why do I'm missing context for one of them. Let me double check this just to make sure I get the right context for the right tracks. Okay, there's the one I'm missing. All right, let's see. This one is from... Trying to fill some space here. Magikarp by Storm is an experimental rap group, and this song feels like an outpouring of positive sound in an almost dangerous way, similar to Dream House by Deaf Heaven, sort of. Love it either way. All right, interested in this. Hip-hop's, as usual, you all know, I'm not a lot of exposure. I haven't had a lot of exposure to this, but the experimental side always seems to catch my attention. This next track is from the group called By Storm. The remaining members of Injury Reserve taking their name from their track. Okay. Let's dive into this. See what's going on with Double Trio 2. What a name.
lose. Two things, I'm through. Up TV, move. Fuck me, just move. I thought we was on some turnover. A new leaf, too. I stretch my limbs out like man, it's so woo me. Let's groove. I seen it happen HD. Thought it was lapse in a dream. Then I looked down at my feet and it was actually me. Can say it's a sad thing to see, but I was basking in glee. Can build it back how we need. It's just for you, it's for me. They say, take it slow, don't want more. Shit, they come back to you, know. If I do this gradually, more shit will fall back on me, so just gotta let that shit go. No coming back from it, make it look like
So
an accident.
pretty as a modifier could mean more or less depending on culture. I read it as a positive modifier, but my sister reads it as a negative modifier. I've understood it to be much like quite, where in the US quite is more, but in the UK quite would mean less.
Fuck that, no more times, niggas gotta go bust back. There's lots to unpack, no time, niggas got us to unpack. I spread my toes in the soil, searching for what was untapped. Massage my scalp in more oils, brush off the ash off my back. I seen it happen, HD, thought it was lapse in a dream. Then I looked down at my feet and it was actually me. Can say it's a sad thing to see, but I was basking in glee. Can build it back how we need. This is for you, it's for me. It's for all of us, yeah. We got someone to lay our head down, yeah, yeah. Yeah, we. Come on, I got some room for you over here. Shit, we was caught by a storm and we ain't even know it. To you, the shit need high, the shit need. Shit, we was caught by a storm and we ain't even know it. To you, the shit need. Shit, was caught by a storm and we ain't even know it. To you, the shit need high. 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 Damn, it's doing shoulder.
Sadly, I'm gonna say that bounced off of me. I wanted to like it more. I think that jazz and hip hop are really great combines. And bringing the sax in here with some more interesting drum beats than hip hop typically leans towards is a really good foundation. It just never really combined into anything that grabbed me. Now, I know I've mentioned in the past, when it comes to rap delivery in general, I tend to favor technicians over people who are less immediately catchy, less spectacle. And yeah, the rap here didn't really grab me. He could absolutely be a phenomenal wordsmith, but I didn't pick up very many words. And part of that is because, in a very strange twist, the rap sections are snuck into the mix on the latter half of this track, which is bizarre for hip hop, certainly an experimental turn. But I found that rather than moving towards pure jazz hip hop, they began to incorporate noise elements, which certainly pushes this into the experimental realm. But there really wasn't much of a harmony, much of a melody to latch onto here. There is a rhythm. It's not like this was done in free time, but the rhythmic flow just wasn't really catchy either. It was more consistent, like a metronome. Didn't really grab my ears there. So I don't know. I think this is a neat experiment. I don't think any one of y'all have introduced me to noise rap before, and I'm sure it exists. But this is really close to what I expect that to be. It never falls apart, but it is more focused on odd texture combinations and sounds over musical ideas and flow. I think at the first half, the vocals allowed the songs to have, or allowed the track to have some consistency to it. And it did dictate the rhythmic flow of everything, but as I mentioned, that got stuffed into the mix on the back half, so it lost the glue and just became the cacophony. And I think that was where it really started to lose me. Yeah, we had Injury Reserve on here a while back. And Death Grip's noise rap, yeah, I can give them that. I think I have absolutely blocked out Steroid Megamix or whatever that was called until you mentioned that. Part of my brain did not want to remember that. -1 lack of toms, +1 for being art. But I do want to state that I think that they have a cool idea here. Even if I don't think this one fully worked for me, I wouldn't mind checking out more from them in hopes that other tracks are working within the same artistic freedom, but maybe not this specific area of that. That is to say, I think there is some stuff of theirs that would work for me. This one just wasn't it. All right, we got some Foals. Why does that word look weird to me? Why is there a revolver in that plateau over the wall? I don't know. That is bizarre. It's a short little barrel too. This one comes at us from Hund 3000 with no context. A Knife in the Ocean is the title of this, but there's no knife in the ocean in the thumbnail. Let's dive in, see what they're bringing to the table today. A knife in the ocean, a gun in the sea.
Fire may come, but we'll be just fine. When I go to walk the line,
The slight temporal difference between the two.
be just fine.
Oh.
Mouth of the ocean, be well spoken. Watch your P's and Q's. Now that we're older,
It's the little tiny hits on the guitar, it's very light picking, but then all the pedal notes on the snare, it creates something that feels constant, but up in the backgrounds. It took me a second, Mark, but I got your joke now. It's clever. Good wordplay. Shift too from the more open section into this incredibly dense sounds. Yeah, that one runs a little long for me. It is still running a little long for me. Yeah, I agree. Solid vibe, love the contrast between the verse and the chorus. But the verse and the chorus, it's all it's got. And it does that for 7 minutes. And I just don't quite think there's enough juice in that fruit to squeeze. And it just ends up feeling empty by the end. I don't know. I noticed not a lot of comments in here, so I'm kind of wondering where y'all sit on this too. I'm going to assume a little less positive, since usually if you're enjoying something, you throw that in the comments. I really enjoyed the first time through, though. Even getting to the end of the second verse, I was like, okay, yeah, dude, I'm on board for this, 100%. And then we get the chorus. I'm like, okay, it's more of the same. And then the bridge, which is more of the same. And then we go back to the verse and then another chorus. And it's just kind of the same thing over and over and over. And like, it's a solid atmosphere. And I love the contrast between the spacious, airy verse and just this incredibly dense chorus. I thought that worked really well. But it needed something else, some contrast, some variation to it in order to keep my attention personally for the full runtime. Yeah, it just kind of drags 100%. And I think, Mark kind of hit the nail on the head, said it's a good vibe for listening without thinking about it. I don't even think that's necessarily like background music, but like if you just want to vibe out, lights off, beanbag, eyes closed, and just chill, this is a song for you. It's got energy, it's got emotion. It isn't an empty track, it's just singularly focused. Not so inspiring as a first listen critically. Yeah. And that was kind of where I sat with it too, is that, I was thinking about the counterplay between all the instruments, the ghost notes on the snare, the way that the guitar over here was being plucked and how that rhythmically was dancing around what the drums were doing and creating a lot of noise with not a lot of ideas and kind of overblowing a sound while still feeling kind of empty in general. Like there's a lot of cool ways to view the verse thematically and then expanding that into all of the textures of the chorus. But after you listen to that a couple of times, the details are more or less the same. And from a critical perspective, there's just not as much to dive into. So then you really got to enjoy the atmosphere of it. Swipe right or swipe left. So yeah, a solid 7 out of 10. Like it's well done, well created. And as far as creating an atmosphere, I think they did a phenomenal job at that. Just not what I'm really in the mood for right now. Oh, left on red. Wow. Oh man. All right, next up we have Denkare. I don't know how to pronounce the title. Aoki kodoku, maybe? We've had Denkare on the channel previously, I think last month even. This one comes from Evil, more Denkare. The runtime is 7:03, but the final note is at 6:56, so we're all good. All right, let's dive into this and see what's going on with them this time around. Oh, very dramatic. Yeah, solid symphonic metal so far. Lots of tension, especially in that string run. There's a syncopated bass kick. So yeah, that was still a violin over there, but I feel it was more inspired by electronic composition than classical. So that was neat. It's such a different vibe getting into this chorus. Here's that dramatic part. Is this a finale or a bridge though? Not talking about the electronic classical. Ooh. Second time they've kind of leaned into this sound. Yeah, well done guitar solo. Oh, dude, I love that the bass joined in on that. Oh. Oh? I actually thought that might have been the ends. Oh, that was anticlimactic. Well, that's interesting context for the lyrics. I'm trying to figure out where I sit on this track, because on the one hand, it is classical and metal, which is cool. And I think that generally both sides are done well. We got some very solid traditional metal style guitar solo in here. Two of them, I believe, actually. The strings are used in more classical manners throughout this as well. So I really like the two of those. And every once in a while, we get a little bit of this electronic side, like this industrial electronic stuff. Okay, that's a cool thing to do, and it works well. So we have all these influences that are done well and smashed together in ways that are cohesive. But the song just never really clicks for me. And I spent the whole time trying to figure out why. What is it that's just not clicking? Like, everything's cool. It's all well done. I'm enjoying it, but I don't find a need to dig into more. And I think I have pulled down this group before. So unfortunately, I never came to a conclusion on that. Just something about it didn't click for me. And it might have just been something along the lines that we saw at the end, where the song really was pointing towards a direction and then flipped to something else. And I started to think about other parts of this track, and it really was sort of this light switch where sometimes we did one thing and they just went into the next. And it made the song feel a bit more disjointed than I would have preferred. Definitely a wild ride, though. The music seems to sit in a genre of self-parody in spite of their talent. I can see where you're coming from with that. I don't think I would put it that way, but there is, I would say, a cheese to it that's not very, not too dissimilar from like power metal, where they know it's kind of cheesy and they just kind of lean into it. I don't know if I'd call it parody though, but it certainly knows that it is dramatic and overboard, and it's just like, well, we'll keep pushing that then. I can agree with that, yeah. But the interesting thing is too, is that as much as people have talked about it not really being, well, subtle, to steal a word I just saw, but that it is busy. It's also not really doing a lot. Like, when I think back about it, it's a series of rather isolated ideas. Each section in and of itself is kind of locked into its one concept. And while I love how the drums can be expressive and the bass can be expressive and the guitars and the vocals and the snare section, it's all also kind of iterative. That's the word I want. And that might be kind of pushing me away a little bit too, whereas the structure is interesting. Each individual moment is a little less than. But like I said, I think I've pulled them down before, so maybe it's just this track that I'm feeling that on, not others. Regardless, I still enjoyed my time. The melody writing on this is sick. I love the drums and the bass. I love the fact that the bass did the melody line with the vocals, I think, or the strings, one of those instruments at the same time. Just love hearing more bass involvement. And the song is theatric. I can dig the more dramatic moments, like the intro, like the lead up to that final section. Pretty much any time that there's a string focused section that leans more on classical writing, those moments felt really great. So Not that it was a bad song in any manner. Busy doing a lot without developing a lot. Yeah, I can see that. I think that's a good way to kind of condense down what I said into a nice short sentence, to be concise, which is just not what I am. But it does. Each individual section doesn't get developed a lot, but there are a lot of individual sections on this track, and they all come together to create something more linear and build into a larger story. Yeah, very well done though. I ended up pulling down a few. It's like 4, 5 today. That's pretty good. Trying to be a bit more selective, but I don't think it makes much of a difference at this point. The list is so long. What you meant by parody, maybe intentionally iterative. Okay, yeah. I can see that. That's going to wrap it up for today then. Hope you all enjoyed yourself. Hope you all heard some music today that you're interested in diving into later. Maybe just listen to some good music. No intentions on exploring more, but you enjoyed yourself during the stream. Maybe you didn't enjoy anything. That's cool too. I'm glad you stuck around and maybe you enjoyed the conversation. An encore? What would we even have for an encore? I'm fairly certain. I gotta double check this. But I don't think we'll have a stream next week. And I just thought about that after I told somebody I'd slot them in on the final one for next week because they weren't going to be here for the rest of the month. So I wish I had thought about that earlier. But I had mentioned that there was going to be a Sunday we didn't do one this month, and I'm pretty sure it's the 14th. So we'll have the usual stuff this week, just no stream on Sunday. Everything else will be typical. Early access will be out soon. The VOD will be out soon. And everyone gets stoked for next week. We're going to be checking out some music videos. So that's going to be a blast. Oh yeah, enjoying the host. My thoughts, my personality, my dancing, my whatever I do. I don't know. I don't know why y'all stick around, but I'm glad you do. Sing something for us? I don't think you want that. The 2-star stream with sparkles. Oh man, until next time. Y'all have a fantastic rest of your day. And as usual, I'll catch you later.